Chairman, members of the council, my name is Jeffrey Derrick. I think most of you know I'm on the project team. Just for the rest of our program, I'm going to be doing some response to some questions to provide the council with the most information possible. Mr. Conley will do the legal closing and formality that you've all been associated with before, and Ms. Marshall asked if she could just give some closing remarks. And I do appreciate everybody, as well as everybody that came out pro and con. This is not an easy environment to operate in. Very grateful, and of course, we're glad to actually see it continued. We had some others that we thought would come and present, as you know, like our experts, and hopefully they'll have the ability to testify at the later hearings. I just want to point that, first of all, Derek Mendoza, Catherine Vera Baker, phenomenal comments. Phenomenal comments because they both ended with, vet this, look into this. The marshals have constantly said, please give us feedback. So let's talk about some of the feedback that came out tonight. The council just needs to follow the process, the law, fact check. You were told about a 3,500 person petition. We've requested it, we were denied it. We've checked the public comments multiple times. Excuse me, it's my time, thank you. We requested it multiple times. We did work with folks to check the comments. We've never had a hit of over 50% East Providence residents. I opened myself up to be countered by production of the petition. We also checked the Keep Metacomet Green Facebook page. We cannot identify anywhere near 35%. But I welcome to be countered and told the truth. I just want the council to know how many East Providence residents, all sections of East Providence, of course, are on that. As far as the comments about Mr. Conley cooperating with my client, I would like to address that. I introduced my clients to Mr. Conley 6-7 months ago. I'm off by a few. It definitely never touched any legislative activity in 2017, 18, 19. I introduced my clients to anybody and everybody on this project team except for Bowler. So there's been no cooperation, there's been no collaborating, there's been no conspiracy. Again, I welcome you to bring facts, we'll address everyone. As far as Rory Miller's comments, another citizen of East Providence, trust the process. There's been a lot of comments made, and I'm just, again, imploring the board, like me, dislike me, opinion not, there are a lot of misstatements of facts. So whatever facts each and every one of you chooses important to you to rely on, please just verify them. That's all I'm asking. For example, I don't understand the comments that were made about if you approve it, obviously totally within your discretion, you lose control. As if you were to keep it in planning and zoning, it's different. Well, unless you were applying leverage to your planning and zoning folks, which you never would do, it's no different than the Waterfront Commission because the City Council doesn't vote after it's rezoned. And just like the Waterfront Commission, the Planning Board and the Zoning Board are appointed. And in the Waterfront Commission process, this does go back before the City Planning Board. If any of this matters to you or doesn't, that's fine. I just want the facts. We just want a fair shake. As Mr. Mendoza said, vet it, just look at it honestly, and we'll work with you, Rory Miller. Engage us in the process. That's all we've asked. Ms. Seal made a comment, or a question, she knows a comment, about why should we trust you to do it? We didn't ask you to do those things. I'm going to respond to that. We've not actually asked on the commitments that they be trusted, because if you review the package that was handed out to everyone, the marshal submitted an amended ordinance since the planning board, adding conditions that would actually make them bound. Legally bound, every council member knows if it were approved, those conditions are bound. So as much as I would love to say trust the marshals, I believe in trusting the marshals. I have known them personally for almost 20 years. We didn't ask you to trust us, as Ms. Seal said. We said, these are the conditions of the feedback we've been given. If you have more, please come to us. Please work with us. We're frankly begging you to give us meaningful feedback, and we'll work with you. Understood? If some people feel the meaningful feedback is don't develop it at all, we respect that. But everyone else who has comments, we've been trying to address. We will be committed, lawfully obligated to them, and we want to continue that. The open space comments, we're just struggling, members of the council, with the comments about, keep it open space, you're not giving us anything. Our wildlife expert will testify that he believes just the 32-acre Cove area provides significantly more important wildlife refuge than does 117 above water acres with golf balls flying at over 200 miles an hour and golf carts. And again, everybody's entitled to opinion. We will produce expert testimony. We try to, we apologize.
Front yard.
Continuing, there's been a lot of comments made about what can be done, heights, this, that. Again, in Mr. Miller's comments, please read what was submitted for the zoning change request. Please read what was submitted, and I'm not just speaking to the council, anybody that has questions, but I'm supposed to address you. I'm sure you all read it. Please read the comprehensive plan amendment. A great deal of these comments are addressed. They're restricted, they're governed. The same thing about the process. They're not showing us anything. They're not showing us anything on the plan. We'd like to respond to that. As again, Mr. Miller said, and we have no prior relationship with him, trust the process. The process that most of the residents are speaking of is a process that's for site plan approval. That the 100-point checklist that Mr. Conley pointed out, the 41-point checklist before we submit, that's when those things are required. And what we're asking is, please ask us for every single thing that is part of the process we're in, and hold us accountable for every single step thereafter. You've heard people say, this is private land. We want to make a significant component of it publicly accessible. And if the buffers don't work, and if the like-kind residential in that yellow, which we refer to as knuckle, doesn't work, communicate with us. Work with us. But we're just trying to follow the process that's currently laid out before us. The process has multiple additional steps. So again, I'm just asking the council, in response to issues that were raised, questions raised, please don't hold us to a different standard. Please don't hold us to unwritten standards. Please don't have us do a site plan approval process, an architectural review process. When those processes are provided for, we cannot develop a stitch on there. Just to give assurance, we've added conditions to our zoning approval that says, until the comprehensive traffic study, stormwater study, wildlife, until those things are done, and as Mr. Conley pointed out and is on publicly available records, these processes have requirements. But add them to our zoning change condition request. We don't mind, we want to be accountable. But I'm hearing a lot of process, I'm hearing you guys ask to apply standards. I can't find them anywhere. They don't exist. These comments about petitions presented. The first petition we were given was a handwritten petition, and we did what you would want a local developer to do. We started to reach out to people. What's your concerns? What can we do to address them? How can we work together to deliver for the community? How can we earn your support? We know it's not given. And people say condescending. If that's come off, I'll apologize for the entire team. There's been nothing good coming from us, but let us work with it. So if there's a 3,500 person petition, produce it. We'll reach out to every single East Providence resident on there, provided we're given contact information.
You can have it.
Thank you. So I think in closing, the last thing, as far as the traffic analysis, thank you, Council, for allowing us to continue us to present. We will make sure that we'll do our part to make sure the Zoom works, and we'll have our traffic engineer there, Jeffrey Derrick from Vanessa. But I think the last comment that's been missing, when people talk about opportunities and infrastructure and taxes, sorry, two last comments and then I'll turn it over. One, the yield analysis that's provided, that's the analysis that says what can go on acreage based on current zoning or requested zoning, is delivered to the city. The city departed, I don't know when, but they have proprietary software that determines tax valuations, direct impact, indirect economic impact, jobs creation. We purposely in our presentation put 8 to 10 million. If any of you go and pull it from the Office of Economic Development in the City of East Providence, it says 10.9 million. And we just didn't want to think you thought we were doing anything like that. So the truth is that's generated by the city's economic director, development director, I apologize, Mr. Moran, and software that the city invested in so you didn't take developers' numbers. And the last thing has to do with the economic benefit that we're trying to produce here that there's been a lot of pushback on. We're not suggesting that we're the solution for all the problems. We're suggesting that if you work with us, we'll contribute meaningfully. And meaningfully, we heard open space was an issue, we heard connectivity to Pierce Fields and the pond around it. Every comment that's been raised except for don't develop it, we've listened to. The economic data we provide to the city, because our yield we provide to the city, they generate the data. If there's an issue with it, we're happy to talk about it, we're happy to work with the city, but I just don't want this spin to be put on it, you know, that the marshals worked with Mr. Conley many years ago, and they did this, and they know this, and there's backroom deals. I'd rather go on together, I take responsibility, and there's been no such thing. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Conley for the legal conclusion, and Ms. Marshall for the concluding remarks. And I do seriously thank you very much for the continuance that you keep me an open mind, and we're grateful.
Can you give us a report of something he said or not?
Well, we're going to continue. We're going to let them finish off, and then we're going to end it.